To keep yourself updated, subscribe to Indigo Learn and click the bell icon and download our app OneFin to start learning on the go.
Friends, so let's begin with financial and accounting system. So you may ask, are we really going to learn how accounting is done? Are we going to learn what is debit, what is credit, the way you have learnt in your 11th standard or you have learnt in your foundation? Answer is no. We are not going to learn about what is accounting. That you will learn in your accounting subject. Here we are going to learn how accounting can be done in computers or in electronic form. To begin with, let's take one example. Say I started my own firm called as Indigo Learn Books. It is a very small shop, and in my shop the only activity which I do is I purchase CA related books and I sell CA related books. So let us say one student comes and he asks, give me one accounting book. So what am I going to do? I am going to take one accounting book and give it to the student, and I will say 100 rupees. So the moment the student gives me that 100 rupees, so what am I going to do? First, definitely I will take that 100 rupees, keep inside my drawer. Then the next thing what I am going to do is I am going to record in my books of accounts. So this is what you learnt in your accounting. So what is the journal entry I am going to pass? I am going to pass a journal entry called as cash account debited to sales account, because this is a cash sale. So what is journal entry I am going to pass? Cash account debited to sales account. So for every student who comes, I am only passing the similar type of journal entries. So if I am making purchases, let us say I make purchase once in a week. So if it is a cash purchase, what is the journal entry I am going to make? I am going to say purchase account debited to cash account. So I was leading a very happy life. One person store, there is no employees, small store. Now eventually my shop started becoming popular. More and more customers started walking into my store. So I had no option but to increase the size of my shop. So I have taken one very big shop on rent and I am running my shop. In my shop there are now 10 employees. 10 employees doing the same thing what I was doing earlier, that is taking book from the shelf and giving it to the customers. But now I started coming across one problem, that is recording these transactions. Earlier what used to happen? I only used to sell and I only used to record all the transactions, but now it is not possible. Think of a scenario, all the 10 employees are selling a book, then going and passing the journal entry. So lot of time is wasted in passing this journal entry. And after I pass the journal entry, what will be done? After journalizing it, then I have to post it to ledger. After ledger, what next? After ledger it is trial balance. After trial balance, profit and loss account, balance sheet. So this is my entire accounting flow. Earlier when I was the only one person in the shop and having accounting knowledge, I used to do this entire process. Though it was consuming little bit of my time, it was still possible because the scale was less. Hardly in a day I used to sell 10 to 15 books, but now I am selling thousands of books on a daily basis. So manually journalizing everything, manually making ledger posting, manually preparing a trial balance, profit and loss account, balance sheet, all these are difficult tasks for me now. So after thinking a lot, I decided, let me stop paper and pen approach, let me stop manual approach, let me take computers in my shop and let computers do accounting for me. So this is the beginning of your chapter, and computers came into business to solve this problem, that is to simplify your day-to-day activities. So we are going to study how computers have simplified accounting work. So we are going to learn theoretically as well as practically how computers can be used in the field of accounting. But before that we need to learn one more concept, and that concept is voucher. Now what do you mean by voucher? Voucher in a common parlance, in a day-to-day life, voucher means documentary evidence of a transaction. Let's take an example to understand this. One day I went to an audit and I asked my client, give me your profit and loss account. And my client gave his profit and loss account, and on the expense side there was an item, that is transportation charges 300 rupees. So I asked my client, what is this 300 rupees? What is this transportation charges for? And he said, sir, this is auto charges. This is auto rickshaw charges. And I said, give me documentary evidence. So my client was surprised. He's like, sir, auto rickshaw drivers never give a bill. How am I supposed to have a documentary evidence? So I said, I agree that auto rickshaw driver will not give you a bill, he will not give you an invoice to you. But you could have raised a document, you could have created a payment voucher and you should have written auto charges 300 rupees and you yourself could have signed it, or you could have made cashier to sign it, or you could have made manager to sign it. So the moment you sign it, it becomes a evidence for me, and if there is evidence, then I can say, okay, this is the transportation charges which is actually incurred and paid by you. Now in this particular chapter, the meaning of voucher is totally different. In a day-to-day life, voucher means documentary evidence, but when it comes to computers, when it comes to accounting in computers, the concept of voucher is entirely different. So now let us see how vouchers are different when it comes to computer software. But before that, we need to understand how computer software does accounting. Does this software understand the golden rule of accounting? Does it think in terms of personal account, real account, nominal account? Does it know debit the receiver, credit the giver, debit what comes in, credit what goes out, debit all expense and losses, credit all incomes and gains? All these things which you studied in your 11th and 12th standard, or you have studied in your foundation. Has computer software studied this? Answer is definitely no. Computer will never think in terms of your golden rule of accounting. Instead, the only thing which computer understands is ledger. It says an account can have only two types of ledger balance, either a debit balance or a credit balance. So all the assets and expenses have debit balance and all the incomes and liabilities have credit balance. Now when I am creating this particular ledger, I have to tell computer software what type of account is it. Is it an asset? Is it a liability? Is it an income? Or is it an expenditure? And on the basis of that information, computer software will do the accounting. Let's take an example. Salary. Now whenever I say salary, you know where this salary will come. You will say, okay, it will come in profit and loss account debit side. But how computer will know that it has to come in profit and loss account debit side? That is, when you create this particular ledger, in computer, you have to first name the account. You will call it as salary account. Then you need to tell what type of account is it. Is it an asset? Is salary an asset? It is not an asset. Is it a liability? No. Is it an income? No. Is it an expense? So you have to say that salary is an expense. Now computer software knows that yes, this salary is an expense. Only after you define it first, only after you tell computer first, then only computer can do the accounting. Computer doesn't have its mind to think of its own. For example, cash. Where should cash come? You will say cash will come in balance sheet asset side. What is this question? Very simple question. But how computer will know cash has to come on the asset side of the balance sheet? How computer will know cash is an asset? Answer is simple. As a user, when I am creating a ledger called as cash, I have to tell cash is a asset. Cash is an asset and it has debit balance. Only then computer will show cash in the balance sheet. Now let us say wrongly you have entered cash as expense. Now whenever you pass an entry which has cash, where it will come? Will it come in P&L account or will it come in the balance sheet? If you define cash as an expense, then definitely it will come in the profit and loss account. Why? Because computer software doesn't understand accounting. What you define it, computer understands. So you will learn it very clearly how computer will think in terms of accounting. So now coming back to the topic, voucher. Now what is voucher? Voucher is defining an entry before it is entered. So you need to tell the computer software what type of entry you are going to pass. Now one more question I want to ask you, that why you should tell the computer software first before passing an entry? Can't you simply pass an entry? The answer is, if you simply pass an entry, computer doesn't know what to do with that entry. So first you tell what is this entry to the computer, so that computer can post that entry to the respective ledgers. So let us study different types of vouchers. Now let us see different types of vouchers what I can use in accounting. But before that, let us go back to our example. So I have a large bookstore called as Indigo Learn Books now, and I am selling books. So what are the different type of transaction I may have on a daily basis? I may have purchases, sales, payment, receipt, and all the other related transactions. So all this information I need to enter in my system. But before I insert in my system or before I enter in my system, I need to tell the system what type of entry it is. So first type of voucher type is contra. So when will I select a voucher type called as contra? Let us say that after making all the sales, at the end of the day, I have in my drawer 1 lakh rupees. Now I want to deposit this 1 lakh rupees in my bank. So what is going to be the entry I will pass? I will say bank account debit to cash account. So this is the normal journal entry. But before passing this journal entry, I need to tell the system that I am going to pass a contra entry. So I will select a voucher type called as contra. Then I will pass this entry. So if I select a voucher type as contra, but instead of passing bank account debit to cash account, if I pass an entry called as bank account debited to sales, the system will say, look at your voucher type. What is the voucher type you have selected? It is contra. Look at the journal entry. Is it a contra entry? It is not a contra entry. So either I have to change my voucher type or I have to change my journal entry. So this is why I first tell the computer what type of entry I am going to pass. So we have seen that when will I select contra? What are the other possibilities that I may select contra as a voucher type? One is cash deposit, one more is cash withdrawal, or I am transferring money from one bank account of mine to another bank account. So for all this transaction, I will use a voucher type called as contra. The next two voucher types are payment and receipt. Now let us say that I have made certain credit purchases and now I need to make payment to my supplier. So before making the payment, I need to tell my system that I am going to make a payment. So I will select a voucher type called as payment. Then I will pass the journal entry. So I will say supplier account debited to cash account or to bank account. Now let us say that by mistake I have selected voucher type as payment, but my journal entry is supplier's account debited to sales. Now you tell me, is it the correct entry? Answer is no, it is not a correct entry. So the system will tell me, look at the voucher type what you selected. You have selected payment voucher type. Is it the payment entry? It is not a payment entry. So change your journal entry. So this is how voucher type will work. So payment we discussed. So when will I use a receipt voucher? Whenever I am receiving money. Let us say I have sold customers goods worth rupees 50,000. Now they are paying me the money after 1 week. So whenever I am receiving the money, I will use a voucher type called as receipt voucher. So I will click on voucher, that is voucher type. Which is the voucher type? This is receipt voucher. So the moment I click on receipt, the system knows, the software knows that cash or bank account is going to get debited. One more voucher type is journal. Let us say at the end of the year, one person who had to pay me 1 lakh rupees, he has defaulted. Now I know that he is not going to pay me the money. So what is the journal entry I am going to pass? I will pass an entry called as bad debt account debited to debtors. I am writing off his balance. Now what type of voucher I can select? Can I select payment? Can I select receipt? Can I select contra? Answer is no. For this, I will select a separate voucher type called as journal. So journal is a voucher type which I choose when I have to record a non-cash transaction. So whenever there is no cash inflow or outflow, I use a voucher type called as journal. What are the other places I can use this particular voucher type? The answer is to record depreciation. What is entry for depreciation? Depreciation account debited to fixed asset. Now is cash coming in or going out? Answer is no. So I can't use receipt, nor I can use payment. I can't even use purchase, nor sales or contra. So only voucher type what I can use is journal. So next two different voucher types are purchase and sales. So when do I use this particular voucher type? If I am making any purchases, I will use a voucher type called as purchase. If I am making any sales, I will use a voucher type called as sales. So I will select different voucher types before making each and every transaction. And once I select this voucher type, system will understand that what type of entry I am really trying to pass in the system. The next two voucher types are credit note and debit note. So when will I issue credit note and when will I issue debit note? Let's take an example to understand this. Say one student had taken 4 books. So what is the price? 100, 100, 100, 100. So I should have collected 400 rupees from him. But by mistake, I gave him an invoice for 500 rupees, 100 extra. So now student says, sir, this is 500 but I only purchased 4 books, so it should be 400 rupees. What can I do? Option number 1 is, I will immediately take that invoice back, tear it, throw it, give him a new invoice for 400 rupees. But normally once you issue the invoice, you cannot tear that invoice. So normally what do they do is, they will issue a credit note. So why they issue a credit note? To reduce the balance what customer has to pay to us. On the other hand, when can I issue a debit note? Debit note is, let us say I sold 4 books. So how much should I have collected from my customer? 400 rupees. But I gave him an invoice for 300 rupees. I gave him an invoice for 300 rupees. Now customer will be happy. He will not tell me anything. But let us say customer is honest. And customer says, sir, I purchased 4 books but you only gave me an invoice for 300 rupees. Give me invoice for extra 100 rupees. So can I give one more invoice? Answer is no. I only made one sale. For one sale I can only issue one invoice. So what will I do? I will issue him a debit note to increase his balance from 300 to 400. So whenever I am issuing a credit note or debit note, I need to insert in my software and I need to tell it first. So this is where I use a voucher type called as credit note and debit note. Now let us talk about one more voucher type, that is memorandum. So when do I use this particular voucher type? So memorandum is not the usual voucher type what I choose on a day-to-day basis, but occasionally I use this particular voucher type. Say that my shop has grown so big and so famous that I thought of putting one branch in some other state, let us say in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, I opened my store and I have given someone else to look after it. So whenever I am sending books, I can send it at cost price. Let us say I am purchasing books at 80 rupees and I can send these books at 80 rupees only. But you have studied in consignment chapter that the supplier will sometimes, instead of sending it at cost, he will send it at cost plus 10%, cost plus 20%. So same way, instead of sending books at 80 rupees, I am sending every book at 95 rupees. So where will I record this 95 rupees? Is it actually my sales? It is not my sale. I am sending these goods from my branch to one more branch. So to record this transaction at 95 rupees, I use a voucher type called as memorandum. Though I write 95 rupees, it will not impact my financial statement. Now we have studied different voucher types what I can use in accounting department or under accounting module in the software. But in a company, when I am talking about a company, there are various other departments as well. For example, there is inventory department. Now you may say inventory department will never pass a journal entry in the system. Agreed. But they will do certain activities and these activities should also be recorded in the system. So before recording, they will also have to choose a voucher type. What are the different activities what may happen in the inventory department? They may raise a purchase order. They may raise a sale order. So when will they raise a purchase order? Let us say that I want to purchase 100 books of accounting. So before purchasing this, I will raise a purchase order for 100 books and I will also write what is the price that I am willing to purchase it for and I am going to send it to my supplier. So this is the purchase order. So before raising this purchase order, I need to enter into my system. I need to tell the system that this is the voucher type. Next, let us say one of the customer, he wanted 50 books of accounting. So before sending him this particular 50 books, I will raise a sales order. So whenever I am raising a purchase order and sales order, it has to be entered in the system. The next one could be stock journal. Now, when will I use a particular voucher type called as stock journal? Let us say that I have two warehouses, warehouse 1 and warehouse 2. From warehouse 1, I am shifting 50 books to warehouse 2. So am I making sale? I am not making sale. I am just transferring stock from one warehouse to another warehouse. This information has to be recorded. So to record this information, I will choose a voucher type called as stock journal. Next voucher type is physical stock. So when am I going to use this particular voucher type? Let's take an example. So at the end of the year, whenever I see my software, it says I have 1000 books of accounting. It says I have 1000 books of accounting, but I will go and make physical count. When I made the physical count, there are only 980 accounting books. I don't know where those remaining 20 books are. maybe some employees have taken it to their home, or maybe when I made the sales, by mistake I gave one extra book. The reasons might be anything, but the moral is 20 book is missing. So now I want to make those changes. I want to reduce my stock from 1000 to 980. To make this reduction, I use a voucher type called as physical stock. Now let us talk about two other types of vouchers. One is delivery note and one is receipt note. Now when do I issue a voucher type called as delivery note? Let us say that one customer who ordered accounting books, 50 accounting books, I have delivered this particular books to his particular premise or his home. So when I am delivering it to his premise, I will issue a document or I will create a voucher called as delivery note. So whenever I am creating a delivery note, I will use this particular voucher type. On the other hand, I have placed order for 100 books, and this 100 books, whenever it reaches my shop, I will issue a voucher type called as receipt note, not receipt voucher. Receipt voucher I issue whenever I am receiving money. If I am receiving goods, I will issue a voucher called as receipt note. So we discussed about accounting department, we discussed about inventory department. There are other departments as well, for example human resource. So whenever they are recording any attendance of the employees, they will use a voucher called as attendance voucher. Whenever they are making any payment, they will use a voucher type called as payroll. So all these are the voucher types what we use in our day-to-day transactions. So we have studied different types of vouchers and when we use that particular vouchers. So this will be of help when we practically see how we actually interact with the system. Now let us talk about accounting flow. Initially we discussed how when I started my shop as a single owner, how I used to make my accounts or how I used to keep my books of accounts. I used to pass my journal entry, then ledger posting, then trial balance, then profit and loss account and balance sheet. But now I have decided that I don't want this manual bookkeeping. I want to transfer, I want to change my bookkeeping into computers. So when I have selected computerized form of bookkeeping, should I pass journal entries? Should I pass ledger entries? Should I make balance sheet? Should I make profit and loss account? Answer is no. Whenever I have opted for computerized method of bookkeeping, only thing I have to do is transaction. Transaction I only have to do it, computer will not do the sales or computer will not do the purchase. So in my shop, I will do the sales transaction, I will do the purchase transaction. So whenever I am making sales transaction, I will go to my system and I will select this is the sales, I will select sales voucher and I will pass that particular transaction. That's it. Now software only will post it to the ledger, software only prepare the profit and loss account, software will only prepare the balance sheet. So earlier days everything I only had to do it, but now I have to just do the transaction, pass the voucher entry, rest everything will be done by the computers. So this is how computer has simplified accounting. So now I have shifted from manual system to computerized system of bookkeeping. So when I shift from manual to computerized, my belief was everything will be super simple. Everything will be more efficient, more effective, less time consuming, report will be proper, all those expectations and anticipation. But to my surprise, the outcome was not what I was expecting it to be. The reason was because of certain transaction created confusions. Let's take an example to understand this. Say that I had one buyer named as Jayashri. Now this Jayashri was a regular buyer from my bookstore. So whenever I started selling books and whenever she used to come and purchase, I knew who Jayashri was. So every time I used to write Jayashri to sales. So every time it used to be a credit sale and once in a month she would settle me the balance. But now I am not the person who is making the sales. So there are all sales reps, sales employees who is actually making the sale and entering data in the system. So now they don't know who Jayashri is. So employee number 1, when he passed the sales entry, he asked customer, ma'am, what is your name? And the client said, my name is Jayashri. So he wrote the spelling of Jayashri as Jayashre. Now the system said okay. So Jayashree account debited to sale 10,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. And she came the next day. But now she was attended by one more employee. And the same employee asked, Madam, what is your name? Jayashree said, my name is Jayashree, obviously. Now this employee thought for a while, what is the spelling of Jayashree? Now you cannot expect every person to have enough English knowledge. So this person thought for a while, then he said, okay, Jayashree, and he started typing Jayashri, and he wrote sales how much? 10,000 rupees again. Next day Jaya came again, Jayashree came again, and the third employee, he asked, what is your name, ma'am? Again she said Jayashree. So he thought Shri spelling is very difficult, let us cut short the name, let us keep it as only Jaya. So he said Jaya account debited to sales account 10,000. So 3 employees have entered the name of the customers in 3 different ways. But is there 3 customers? There is only 1 customer, but they have entered in 3 different ways. At the end of the year, when I looked at my balance sheet, the debtors, when I looked at my debtors, it showed so many debtors. And I was quite surprised. I felt, no, I don't give credit to all these different people. I only give credit to hand few. And when I read the name, I was surprised. So it had all the permutation combination of this name Jayashree, Jayashree with double E, double I, without Shri, and all the other possibilities. I felt, look, this is not I want in accounting. Let me go back and maintain my books manually. But my friend whom I met, he said, see, don't go and maintain your books manually. There is a solution for this. There is a solution for this. And I asked, what is the solution? And he said, you divide the data into 2 types. One is master data and one is non-master data. And he said master data should have details of relatively permanent information, and non-master data can have the data which is not permanent, which changes with every transaction. And I asked, give me example. And he said, look, you know who is your customer and you know what is the name, that is Jayashree. You first tell, okay, what is the spelling? So Jayashree, whatever spelling you want to give, you give it. Let us say you want to give Jayashree, Jayashree. Now this data, you create it as master data. You create it as master data. So what will happen if it is master data? He said, once you select it as a master data, every time your employees make a sale, they will never have to type the name, because you already have created the name. They just have to select the name. They just have to select the name. The only thing that they have to type is the amount. So this amount is a non-master data. You cannot do anything with that because it changes with every transaction. But master data, if you define it properly, it will save your time and your accounting process will be more effective and more efficient. Because at the end of the year, when you look at your balance sheet, there will be only one Jayashree, no permutation combination of the Jayashree's name. I said, okay, we will do what is master data and what is non-master data. So let us take one example, and I want you to tell me what is master data and what is non-master data in this. For example, I made sale to Jayashree rupees 10,000. So I made sale on 1st of April. So in my journal entry, what will be there? It will be 1st of April 2019. Then voucher number, let us say voucher number is SL001. Next one is Jayashree account debited to sales account 10,000, 10,000. Now in this journal, whatever journal entry you are seeing, tell me, is date, is it a master data? It is not a master data. Why it is not a master data? Because it is not permanent. It goes on changing on daily basis. Correct? Today it is 1st of April, tomorrow it becomes 2nd of April, day after tomorrow it becomes 3rd of April. So date is not a master data, it is a non-master data. Voucher number, tell me, is it a permanent information or the information keeps on changing? The answer is it keeps on changing for every entry. First entry it is SL001, next entry it is SL002. So this voucher number is also non-master in nature. Third one, whether Jayashree's account debited. So Jayashree account, is it a master data? By now you know it is a master data. To sales, even sales is a master data. But amount 10,000, 10,000, is it master data? Answer is no. What is the guarantee that every time Jayashree purchases, she'll purchase only for 10,000 rupees? She may purchase for 100 rupees, she may purchase for 1 lakh rupees. So the amount is non-master in nature. So I hope you are clear with the concept of what is master, what is non-master data. We will discuss more about it when we are actually practically looking at it. So we will take one accounting software and we will see how master data is created and how it will help to avoid all these confusions. Now let us quickly discuss what are the difference between master data and non-master data. Now master data is selected from the available options, right? So master data, you don't type it, you just select from the available options. Let us say I am making sales. So if I am making credit sales, first thing is there might be 10 different customers. Out of these 10 different customers, I have to select to which customer I am selling to. So once it is a master data, I will select it from the available list. But if it is a non-master data, then I have to manually type it. For example, amount, I need to type it. The second point that what you need to remember is, everything I select need not always be master data. For example, date. Date, sometimes I will just select from the calendar. I will select from the calendar. Just because I am selecting but I am not typing it, doesn't make it a master data. So that is the one thing you need to keep in mind. The next point you need to keep in mind is, master data is relatively permanent. It is relatively permanent. Why am I saying relatively permanent and not permanent? That is because the data may change but not regularly. For example, let us say Jayashree, and Jayashree has a mobile number and her address. Now, is it that Jayashree can never change her mobile number? She can change it. So whenever she changes, she will come and update us and we will change that mobile number in our system. But will she keep on changing on a daily basis? No. So all the master data informations are relatively permanent, need not be permanent always. So these are the key differences between master data and non-master data. Till now we were talking about how can we use computers for accounting process. So we briefly discussed the accounting flow. What is accounting flow when it comes to computers? You just have to do the transaction, then you have to pass a voucher entry. Once you pass a voucher entry, then the system will only journalize it, post it to ledger, then prepare the trial balance, prepare the profit and loss account and balance sheet. But now we will study something much more than accounting. Let us come back to our original example. That is, I am running a company called as Indigo Learn Books and I am selling books. I am purchasing and I am selling CA related books. Now you tell me, in my entire organization, do I only have accounting department? Not only accounting departments, but I also have various other departments. What are the other departments I may have? For accounting purpose, I have accounting department. To manage my stock, to handle my inventories, I have a separate department called as inventory department. Now in my organization, there are so many people working. To handle all these people, to take the interviews, to pay the salaries to them, to calculate their attendance, to do all these tasks, I have a separate department called as human resource department. I may have a separate department for marketing purpose. I may have a separate department for customer relationship management, because customer is very important for the organization. So it is my prime responsibility to see that customer is happy. So do all these things, I have different departments. Now the question is, whether all the departments can use computers or only accounting department can use computers? Answer is, all the department can use computers to perform their task. For example, in the accounting department, I will use an accounting software to pass journal entries. But in an inventory department, the worker who is working in the inventory department may use some software to manage the stock. So in a HR department, he may use a separate software to maintain a list of all the employees who are working and how much salary should be paid, how much dearness allowance should be paid, how much HRA should be paid and all the other benefits to be paid. He maintains a separate software. And in a customer relationship department, in CRM department if I am talking about, he may use a separate software to maintain good relationship with the customer. But now can you tell what is the problem? Just because I computerized every of my processes doesn't mean that my organization can run efficiently. For my organization to run efficiently, I want to connect all these departments together. I want to connect all these departments together. So this is the very important point. So all the departments can use their separate softwares, but what is the problem? If every department is using their own softwares, then there is a lack of information flow. There is a lack of information flow. For example, let us say that in the inventory department, they raised a purchase order for 100 books. They raised a purchase order for 100 books and the 100 books are received. Now you need to make the payment. Once you make the purchase, you definitely have to make the payment. The question is, who makes the payment? The payment is released from your accounting department. It is released from your accounting department. But how should accounting department come to know that inventory department has received goods? Only when inventory department worker calls up an employee of accounting department and he says, yes, we have received the goods, only then accounting department will say, okay, let us make the payment. But imagine a scenario where the goods are received, 100 books are received, but inventory department employee has not contacted employee of accounting department. Now what will happen? The bill won't be finalized, the payment won't be made, and my supplier will be angry. So to solve all this type of problem, the only solution I have is to connect all these softwares. Or I may say, I have to integrate all the different softwares used by all the different departments and make it one. So this one software which integrates all the different departments together and combines them into one single platform is called as ERP. That is Enterprise Resources Planning. We are going to discuss ERP and its module in detail. Now what do you mean by module? I want to give an initial introduction. What is module? So in a physical terms, we call it as departments. There is an accounting department, there is an inventory department, there is an HR department. But when you see from a software side, you don't call it as department, you call it as module. You say, okay, the software which is used by accounting department is called as accounting module. The software which is used by inventory department is called as inventory module. The software which is used by HR department is called as what? It is called as HR module. So if you want an ERP in your organization, then it means that your accounting module, inventory module, HR module and all the other modules should be connected with each other or should be integrated with each other. And only then you can call it as Enterprise Resources Planning. So to understand how ERP functions, let us take one live software, that is Zoho Books, and let us see what is accounting module, what is master data, what is non-master data, what is purchase order, what is sales order. So all the things we discussed till now, we will see in real life example. So let us begin. So initially we will be going to a website called as Zoho Books. Now I will be starting from the very scratch so that each and every information is understood by you, and this information is very important for you to understand second chapter and more importantly chapter number 1. So first I will say I am a new user, so I will go and say I want to start my 14 days trial. Now I will be logging in. So initially they are asking me to accept their terms and conditions and which country I am in. So I am going to accept the conditions and I am going to continue. So here they are asking what is the name of my organization. Now you tell me what is the name of my organization. That is Indigo Learn Books. So I am going to tell what is the name of my organization, that is Indigo Learn Books. And which is my country? My country is India. So I am going to say let's get started. So they also want other information. What are the other information? They are asking which state I am in. So I will select my state is Telangana, and they are saying which time zone I belong to and what is the currency and what is the language. So this particular step is always called as configuration. This is called as configuration. Now what do you mean by configuration? I am configuring the software which I am using. So I am telling what is my organizational profile, what is the name of my company, and which country I am operating in which state I am operating in, which is my currency, which is the language. So all these things I need to define first to the software, and this is called as configuration. And I will say all the things I have entered, and I will say get started. So once I get inside the software, I get this particular screen. So before doing anything else, I will directly go to settings first, and I will define organizational profile. So you can see that what is my organization name, it is already there because I previously entered it. They are asking me, do you want to upload your logo? As of now, I don't want to upload any logo of mine. And they are asking which is the industry that I am operating in. So if I am purchasing and selling books, which is this industry? This is retail industry. So I am going to say I am in retail industry, whether it is e-commerce or offline. So mine is offline. Then they are asking what is the business location, and it is India. Now they want what is the company address. So I have entered my company address. Continuing, they want what is the fiscal year, what is the financial year. So it can be from January to December, or it can be from April to March. So I have to select what is my financial year. It can be any year. So I am going to select April to March, that is what is very popular in India. And I am going to say mine is accrual basis of accounting, not cash basis of accounting. So as and when I make sale, whether I receive money or not, I am going to record this particular transaction. Then they are again asking what is my time zone, and they are asking what is the date format. So all this minute of the minute information I need to tell the software. Only then I can expect a better report. Then they are asking whether my company has some company ID. As of now, I don't have any company ID. Tax ID, I will say I don't have any of these, and I want to just save this particular information. So once I set up my organization profile, what is the next thing? I said I am purchasing and selling books. So apart from accounting, I have one more department as well, which is that department, that is inventory department. Now I want to connect accounting department and inventory department together. So what I am going to do, I am again going to go to preferences, and here I will select items, and I will say I want to enable inventory. What is the start date? I will say today is the start date, and I will click on save. Now what I did is I said I want accounting module, also I want inventory module. So till now everything is clear. So initially how did I start? I said I want to start my company, and I went into a software and I inserted all the basic details about organizational name, the time zone, the currencies, the country, the state, the language what I am going to use. Afterwards I also defined which type of industry I am in. I could be in various types of industries. I could be in manufacturing industry, I could be in retail industry, or I could be in service industry. So it is very important that I tell the software which industry I am operating. So I told the software that I am in retail industry. So this much is done. So let us continue. Let's go back. Now what you see on the screen, this is an accounting module. Now what is accounting module? Only accounts related data you can see here. What is accounts related data? You can enter sales related data, you can here enter purchase related data, or you can enter here banking related data. So all the information which an accounting department enters, you can see it on the screen. But I want to add stock. So can I do it in my accounting module? Now you should be knowing what is module. Module is the software which is used by the accounting department. So can I update stock information in my accounting module? Answer is no. I have to go to another software. Now what is that software? Along with Zoho Books, there is one more software called as Zoho Inventory. There is one more software called as Zoho Inventory, and I will say I want to access Zoho Inventory. Now Zoho Inventory is asking which company you want to create Zoho Inventory for, and I will say yes, I want to create it for Indigo Learn Books, and I want to continue. So now what you see on your screen is a inventory module. Now what is inventory module? Inventory module is nothing but the software which is used by the inventory department. So here you have something called as items. So here you enter the details about items which you are selling, and then you enter details about your sales order, packages, invoice. We will see all this one by one. To begin with, let us go and define what is the item. So I am going to click on item group. Now what do you mean by item group? Item group means, let us say I am selling CA Inter books. So CA Inter is my item group. Under CA Inter, I may be selling various books. For example, under CA Inter, I may sell accounting book, I may sell tax book, I may sell costing book, and I may sell law book. So all these are the different items, and these items comes under one single group, and I call it as item group. So first let me create one item group. So I am going to select new item group, and now I need to define what is the name of my item group. They are asking whether it is a goods or service. I will say it is goods. And what is the item group name? Let me say study material CA Inter. Now what is the description? If I have to write an explanation about this particular group, I would write here, but as of now I don't want to delay it further, so I am not going to write in a description of the item. Then they are asking unit. Now every commodity can be measured in different units. For example, if I am saying milk, now do you sell milk by way of kg? No, you will sell by way of liters. If I say sugar, how are you going to measure it? By way of kgs. If I am saying books, how am I going to measure it? By way of pieces, correct? So I am going to say that unit of measure is pieces. PCS stands for pieces. Then they are asking information about, is there a manufacturer or is it a brand, and I will say I don't want to fill that information as of now. And now they are asking about attribute. Now they are asking about attribute. So I will say what is the main attribute? It is a study material. So if it is a question paper, I would have written attribute as question paper. As of now it is the study material, and now I need to fill up the options. What are the options available? One is I can sell which book? I can sell accounting book. One more, which is the book? I can sell law book. One more, which is the one? That is I can sell tax, and the last one I can sell costing. So these are the 4 books which I am selling. And now if you see, I have the item name here automatically that says study material CA Inter accounting, study material CA Inter law, study material CA Inter tax, and study material CA Inter costing. Now I need to fill up an information called as SKU. Now I don't want to fill this particular SKU. SKU is to identify your commodity very quickly. Now there might be 2 books by the same name. For example, let us say 5 different authors. 5 different authors can write a book on accounting. Now how do you identify one particular book? So for every unit you will assign a number. Rather than a name, you assign a number. So you can assign it manually as well. I am leaving it to the system to generate SKU for me. So I will say you generate a SKU. So the software itself is generating a SKU. What is SKU here? It is, for accounting it is STU, that is study material, the first 3 digits, STU hyphen ACC accounting. For law it is STU hyphen law. For tax it is STU hyphen tax, and for costing it is STU hyphen cost, COS. Now they are asking what is the purchase price. So I need to define here what is going to be my purchase price. It may change, but I need to fill in the general prices. So I will say normally for accounting book I will pay 80 rupees if I am purchasing it. For law book I may pay again 90 rupees. For taxation I will say I am paying 100 rupees. And for costing also I am going to pay 100 rupees. So this is my purchase price, and they are also asking at what price I am normally selling it for. So I will say accounting book I will be selling it for 100 rupees, that is 20 rupees profit, that is margin what I am keeping. Even the law book I am selling it for 100 rupees, and taxation book I will be selling for 120, and costing book I will be selling for 120. So all this information carefully I need to enter. Why? Because if I make a mistake here, then this mistake will be repeated each and every time I make a purchase or each and every time I make a sale, because these informations are automatically entered. Next, I can also enter what is the reorder level. Reorder level means what is the minimum stock I want to have in my organization. Let us say every book minimum quantity I want to have it as 50. So I am going to say accounting book reorder level is 50, law is 50, taxation is 50 and costing is 50. So other information I can enter UPC, EAN, ISBN, all these are not relevant for your study purposes. So I am skipping all these things and I will say save. So now item group has been created. So if you can see, this is my inventory group, that is item group, and I have 4 items and there is a purchase cost and there is a sale cost. But as of now, what is stock in my hand? As of now, there is no stock in my hand. Why? Because I have not made any purchases, nor there is any opening stock which I have. But they are saying that my reorder level is 50. That means whenever the stock becomes lesser than 50, it is a time for me to purchase new stock. So this is the basic about inventory module. Now I decided I have started my shop, and to sell books, what is the first thing I want? I want books. Correct? I need to purchase books. So I thought, let me purchase 200 quantities of each and every book. Now how can I purchase? So can I directly call my supplier and say that you send the books? Normally it works. I am not saying it is not going to work, but if I want to make it professionally, if I want to enter all the datas, rather than simply calling my supplier and asking him to send the books, I will raise a purchase order. What I am going to do? I am going to raise a purchase order. So I will come here and I will click on purchase order and I am going to say create a purchase order. Now look at it very carefully. They are saying select vendor. They are not asking you type vendor. They are saying select vendor. But as of now, do I have any vendors? Have I entered any names of suppliers till now? No. So what I am going to do, I am going to type one supplier's name. Let us say I am purchasing from Arun. So I am going to enter a name called as Arun. But if I press enter, I cannot create a purchase order. Why? Because software says I don't know who Arun is. The name of the supplier is master data. The name of the supplier is master data. So first go and create a supplier. First go and create a supplier. Once you have created a supplier, then come back and pass this purchase order. So we are in the inventory module and you saw that as of now the stock is 0. So let me go back to dashboard, and if you see the dashboard, it is showing that low stock items 4. How does the software know that it is a low stock item? That is because I defined that reorder level is 50, but as of now what is the stock I have? It is 0. So the software understands that these particular 4 stocks is low and it's time that I reorder this. So if I want to reorder, first thing is I need to place a purchase order, and to place a purchase order, first thing I have to do is create a supplier. Alright. So now I am in Zoho inventory module, that is inventory software. Let me go to Zoho Books, that is another software. Remember one thing, in ERP, both Zoho Books and Zoho inventory has to be connected with each other. They have to be integrated with each other. I can use a separate software for accounting, I can use a separate software for inventory. That doesn't mean that I have ERP. So I am repeating this line again because it is very important. So only I can call it as ERP when these both softwares are connected. As of now these softwares are connected. I will show you how. So I will come back to Zoho Books. I am coming back to Zoho Books, and here what I want to make? I want to make purchases. I want to make purchases. So to make purchases, first thing is I require vendors. Vendors are those from whom I actually purchase. So what I am going to do? I am going to click on add vendor. First thing is I want to add vendor. Why? Because previously we studied what is master data and what is non-master data, also called as transactional data. So why am I defining master data? I am defining master data in order to avoid confusions. Remember the example of Jayashree? Writing wrong spelling of Jayashree and cutting down the name from Jayashree to Jaya. All these problems I want to avoid. Hence, first I will create a supplier. Instead of typing who the supplier is each and every time, only once I will create who my supplier is. So I will come here and I will click on create new vendor. Now let us say I am purchasing from Jayashree. So what I am going to do? They are asking what is the salutation. I will say it is Miss Jaya. So I will say name is Jaya. Jayashree, and there is no last name. Now what is the company name? If Jayashree has a company name, I would select some company. As of now, Jayashree does not have a company. So what is the display name? Software itself suggesting, do I want to maintain accounts in the name of Miss Jayashree or Jayashree? I will say, okay, I want an account in the name of only Jayashree. Then they are asking what is the vendor email, what is the email ID of vendor. Why it is required? It is required because purchase order I have to send it to my supplier. How can I send? One way is I can call and I can tell this is the goods which I want. I want 200 books of accounts, 200 books of costing, 200 books of tax, 200 books of law. Or I can send an email to Jayashree. So I have to write an email ID of Jayashree. So I will write an email ID. Now I have to be very careful. So if I make any mistake while entering a master data, so this is the master data what I am entering. So if I make any mistake now, the email will go to someone else. That means though I have raised a purchase order, this purchase order will not reach the concerned person. So I have to be very careful. So I will write what is the email ID of Jayashree. Let us say email ID of Jayashree is jaya123@gmail.com. So instead of writing jaya123@gmail.com, if I write jaya1234@gmail.com, will it go to Jayashree? It may go to Jayashree, but not my supplier, some other Jayashree. Alright. So I have to be very careful. Next they are asking what is the vendor phone number. If Jayashree has a phone number, what is it? I will enter some random number. I will say it is 9901123456. And they are asking website, if Jayashree has a website, if Jayashree has a company of hers, and if there is a website I can enter that data as well. So whenever I am entering master data, they are allowing me to enter any data I want to enter as detailed as possible, but I am not going to enter all these data. So I can enter the address of my supplier. What is the address of my supplier? Who is the contact person? Sometimes let us say that Jayashree is the owner of the company and each and every time Jayashree doesn't want to be contacted. For example, let us say there is a CA firm and for each and everything you don't have to call CA himself, you can call some of the staff. So same way, instead of calling Jayashree directly, I can have a contact person's name and mobile number as well. Then I can have any other custom field, reporting tax, all these things are not as of now important. So let us say that I am going to define the address of Jayashree. So I have saved the billing address of Jayashree and I can even say that copy the same address into the shipping address as well. And now I am going to save this particular information. So now what did I create? I created a master data of my supplier. I created a master data of my supplier. So now let me create one more supplier master data. So as of now there is one master data which I created, that is of Jayashree. Let us say that I have one more supplier called as Arun. So let me create a master data of Arun as well. So I will come and click again on vendor and I will say I am going to call him as Mr. Arun Kumar, and I will say the company name, there is no company name. What is the display name I need to have? I will say okay, I want to have a display name called as Arun Kumar, and vendor email. Now again all the details I enter in master data I need to enter very carefully. If I enter it wrong, then there is a risk of sending this particular information to a wrong person. All these things we will study at a later part. That the moment I computerize my accounting, does it mean that everything will be perfect? No, there are a lot of risk what is involved. So some of the risks are like this. If I enter wrong data or if I enter wrong information about mobile number, contact details, shipping address, billing address, all these things will create in some or the other problem. So now I am going to enter the email ID of Arun. So let me say that email ID is arun123@gmail.com, and what is the phone number of Arun? I am going to say it is 9902123456, and there is no website, and they are asking for the information about address, and I don't want to save the address as of now, so I am going to hit on save. So as of now, how many vendors I have? I have created 2 vendors. Which are those? One is Jayashree and one is Arun. So I created in which module? I created in my Zoho Books, that is in my accounting module. Now let us say that I want to raise a purchase order from my inventory module. So inventory department wants to raise a purchase order. So they will come here, the employee who is working in inventory department, he will come here and he will say he wants to create a purchase order, and he will say create purchase order. He will click on create purchase order. Here they are asking vendor name, select the vendor. Now they are not asking you to type vendor, but they are asking you to select the vendor. Why? Because vendor name is master data. At master data you don't type in, you just select from the options. What are the options you have? You have Arun and Jayashree. Let us say that I will say I don't want to select, I want to type my own spelling of Jayashree. I will say this is Jayashree and I press enter. The software will not accept this particular data. It says no. Only two options are available to you, either Arun or Jayashree. If you are saying you are purchasing from third person, then you create a new vendor. You go back and create a master data of a new vendor. So employee cannot make a typing mistake. Why? Because this is the master data. So I am going to select from Jayashree, I am purchasing. Now if you see, automatically the billing address have come. How? Because while I was creating the master data, I have entered this particular information. Now while entering that address, if I had entered wrong information, then for every purchase order the same address will be selected. Now I am saying deliver to, I am saying deliver to my address and purchase order number. Now you tell me what is this purchase order and what you see PO 0001. This is nothing but voucher number what we studied. So here we can see that PO, that is the prefix of your voucher number, that is the prefix of your voucher number, and 0001 is the voucher number. What is the voucher type? The voucher type is purchase order. Which is the module? This is inventory module. Alright. So if I am placing the next purchase order, will the number be same or number will differ? The number will differ. It will become PO-0002. So on, and they are asking some reference. If there is, if this purchase is happening because of someone's reference, I can enter the data here, but there is no reference as of now. And they are asking what is the date of my purchase, and I will say today is the date of my purchase order what I am placing. Expected delivery date also I can enter here, and shipping preferences, how I want it to be shipped, I want it delivered to my place, or I will only send my employees to collect it. All the details I can enter it here. Now let us not go in detail. First, what are the items I want to purchase? This is very important. What are the items I want to purchase? Now, can I type these informations? Can I type this information? I want accounting book, no? So can I come here and I can start typing? No, I can't type. Why? Because even inventory name or item name is a master data. I cannot type. I have to select from the given available options. So let us say that I want to purchase a book which is not there in the first group. Let us say it is I want to purchase a FM book, financial management. It says no, the book is not available. So I want to go back and I have to create a master data of financial management book. As of now, I only have 4 item names. So let me place order. First one is accounting book. They are saying what is the quantity I want to book? I want to book 200 quantity. Now if you see, the rate is automatically entered here 80. How does the software know the rate is 80? This is because I told the software what is the rate. So now had I wrongly entered what is the rate, the same rate would come here. Obviously I can change this rate, but I need to be very careful when I am configuring my accounts. So I want accounting book. Then which are the other books I want? I want costing book. Costing book I want how much? Again I want 200 costing books. And I want law, again 200, and I want tax. How many I want? 200 books of tax as well. So now the price is automatically calculated by the software and it says the total price is 74,000. So this is the purchase order what I am creating, and I can write any notes and I can write any terms and conditions, and I will say the software automatically is asking, do you want to email it to jaya123@gmail.com? See, this is where I told you, had I entered wrong email ID, this would go to a wrong email ID. So I am going to hit on save. I am going to select on save. So this is the purchase order. This is how a purchase order would look like. Now what am I going to do? I have to send it to my supplier. So what will I do? I will say, I will click on email and I will hit on send. So this automatically, this particular email will be sent to jaya123@gmail.com. So purchase order is sent. Now after purchase order is sent, what will happen? So now Jayashree will receive the purchase order and she will arrange for the goods and she will send 200 books of each accounts, tax, law and costing. Now I have to receive that goods. So I'll come here and I'll say that I have received entire thing. I have received all the books. Okay, let us imagine that Jayashree has sent all the books and I'm coming here and I'm entering that books are received and I'll say proceed. Now they're asking again a voucher number and I'll say okay. So when I receive the goods, I need to prepare a voucher. I need to raise a voucher called as receipt note, or sometimes I can also call it as goods receipt note. Now what is this goods receipt note or GRN? That is a documentary evidence which says that what quantity of goods is received, what quality of goods is received. It may so happen that Jayashree, instead of sending 200 books of each subject, she may send 100 books of each subject. So I have to record that I have only received 100, not entire 200. So in which document I am going to enter it? I am going to enter it in a document called as receipt note, or I am going to enter it in a document called as GRN. So even this voucher needs to have a voucher number. So we have given a voucher number called as PR0001. So even this voucher number is unique. So if I am receiving any consignment the next time, the voucher number will change. What is going to be the next voucher number? It is going to be PR0002. I said it has to be sequential. Alright. So now let us continue our discussion. First, I issued a purchase order and I said I want 200 books. Now Jayashree has sent 200 books of each subject. What is the next step? Next step is I need to raise a bill. I need to raise a purchase bill and afterwards the payment has to be made. The moment I receive the goods, I will not make the payment. So what is the next step? Next step is raising a bill, and let us see how we can raise the bill. So in this particular module, I will come here and I will say convert to bill. Now again I need to confirm the details that I have received all these 200 quantities and the amount, that is 74,000 rupees, and I will say save as open. Now they are asking the bill number, so I need to enter a bill number. So I will write it as bill 001 and I am going to save as open. So now the purchase order is issued, the goods are received and our bill is also created. Now what is the next step? Next step is you need to make the payment. Now the question is, can you make payment from inventory department? Can you make the payment from inventory department? If inventory department is only doing everything, then there is no requirement for accounting department. So payment is not done by the inventory department. Payment related aspects are looked after by accounting department. So in which module we are in? As of now we are in inventory module, but we need to make the payment. So which module we should go? We should go to accounting module. So here we need to make the payments. But as of now, let us not get into the payments part. As of now, I just wanted to have an understanding about how purchase is made. Let us quickly recap the procedure. What is the step number 1? I am raising the purchase order. So when I am raising the purchase order, am I typing the name of the seller or I am selecting the name of seller? I am selecting the name of seller. Why? Because the name of seller or the details of seller is a master data, and master data cannot be typed, but it has to be selected amongst the given options. After I selected who is my supplier, I also had to enter details about what items I want to purchase. Now item name, tell me, is it a non-master data or is it a master data? It is a master data. I am not going to type the name of each book. Instead, I am going to select the name of the book from the given options. So after I selected who is going to be my supplier, after I selected what is the commodity which I want, what is the item which I want, I saved my purchase order. After saving my purchase order, I sent that purchase order to my supplier. Because if I am just saving, then it is there only in my computer. How will supplier come to know that she has to send 200 books of each subject. So I have to email that to my supplier. So I have sent purchase order to my supplier. Once my supplier received my purchase order, what my supplier is going to do? My supplier is going to send 200 books of each subject. So once I am receiving it, should I issue any other document? Answer is yes. Which document I am going to issue? I am going to issue a document called as GRN, that is Goods Receipt Note. So this is also a voucher number, this is also a voucher, and this has to have a unique voucher number. So once after I receive the goods, what is the next step? The next step is I need to raise a bill. Now why I need to raise a bill? Because without raising a bill, I cannot make the payment. So I have raised the bill, and in the bill I will again write what is the quantity I have ordered and what is the quantity I have received and what is the final amount I have to pay. So now I have three documents. Which are these three documents? Document number 1 is purchase order. What is document number 2? That is GRN. What is document number 3? That is purchase bill. Now when I say accounting department pay 74,000 rupees, the employee who is working in accounting department, he will not simply directly make the payment. He will ask for these three documents. He will ask for purchase order. He will ask for GRN. He will ask for purchase bill. He will compare whether the quantity is matching, whether it is 200, 200, 200. He will see the amount. Is it 74,000, 74,000, 74,000? Only when all the three tallies, he is going to make the payment. So this is how a purchase is made in an organization. Continuing our discussion, if you noticed very carefully, we created supplier details in which module? We created supplier detail in accounting module, and we raised purchase order in which module? We raised purchase order in inventory module. But when I went to inventory module and I selected on suppliers, automatically I could see the name of Jayashree and Arun. But how did inventory department get the information about Jayashree and Arun, which I only entered in accounting module? The answer is accounting module and inventory modules are interconnected. Any data I enter into accounting module is shared with inventory department as well. So the flow of information, flow of data within the organization is seamless. Alright, so this is the one of the important criteria of ERP, that is Enterprise Resource Planning. Till now we studied about how to create an inventory and how to make the purchase. Now let us come to the most crucial part, that is about how to create account in the accounting module. For example, if I ask you create a salary account, and if I give you a book and a pen, so you will simply draw some line and you will write salary account, debit side, credit side, and you will say this is the ledger. Now if I ask you create a ledger account in computer or in software or in ERP, how are you going to create? Let's look into practically. So now first you will come here and you are going to select it as accountant, and you are going to choose something called as chart of accounts. You are going to choose something called as chart of accounts, and in chart of accounts you will come here and you will say you want to create a new account, and you will click on new account. Now what is the account type? Now if I say salary, you tell me what is the account type. Is it an asset? Salary is not an asset. Is salary a liability? Salary is not even a liability. Is salary income? No, salary is expense. Now you may say, sir, what question is this? Even 11th standard kid can say this. Even 11th standard student can answer this question saying that salary is expense. But here it is not the question of whether I know it or whether you know it. It is the question that you need to tell the computer that salary is an expense, or else your ERP will not understand what is this particular item. So first you will define the what is the account type. So you said that salary is expense. So I am going to select account type as expense, and what is account name? Account name is salary. Now they are asking me enter an account code. Normally in the larger organizations there will be ledger name and they will have a account code. Account code, they usually use it for faster access to this particular accounts. For example, I can say that all the expenses, the code will start from 1. All the incomes, code will start from 2. All the assets, code will start from 3. All the liabilities, code will start from 4. So I can define this way. So here I am recording an expense. So I am giving an account code, say 101. So this is the account code. Now whenever in future if I have to pass an entry in salary account, rather than typing salary, if I quickly type 101, I will get salary. Okay, so if I want, I can give account code, or it is not mandatory. So what I am going to do, I am going to save this particular account. So now I have created an account. So now software knows, now ERP knows that salary is an expense. Now it knows that yes, expense are debit side of what? Profit and loss account. So any entry you make under the head salary, where it will go? It will go to your profit and loss account. But here, while creating salary account, instead of selecting expense, if you had selected income, then where it will go? It will definitely go to profit and loss account, but it will come in the credit side of profit and loss account as a negative balance. Alright, so this is how ERPs think.